back and forth shit. Is that just you being competitive, like when that happens, or is it like...
I just really don't like that dude.
Why though?
Cause I just don't like him.
Of the altercation between GervontaDavis and TerenceCrawford, while Tank and Lamont Roach were holding a media meeting in New York, has taken the internet by storm. TerenceCrawford has now spoken out about what actually happened. And in doing so, he took another shot at Tank. The boxing world is
It's not your cup of tea, that's just not your...
I don't like nothing about him. I don't like nothing about him. I just feel like, he just...
Sadly, a fight between them seems out of reach at the moment, as Crawford is focused on a super middleweight clash with Canelo Alvarez, while GervontaDavis remains in the lightweight division. Both champions clashed last month after what started as a quick remark about the Ring Magazine Awards. Although TerenceCrawford and GervontaDavis will never meet in the ring due to the size discrepancy, that didn't stop them from exchanging a few social media.
If we was to fight right now on the streets, I'll break your fucking neck. And that's on my kids. And you know it, I know it, and the whole...
Davis is currently focused on Lamont Roach, as he looks to retain his World Boxing Association lightweight title on March 1st. However, Tank has proven that he's always ready for verbal warfare, with Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez on the horizon. Bud also has other priorities to attend to, but he recently revealed that their back and forth in January wasn't where his opinions on Davis were formed. The exchange between them last month centered around money before Davis made it personal. While that's nothing new in combat sports, Crawford had already made up his mind about Tank.
If Tank get to pick his opponent, he would do it. But Tank would never come from 35.
In a recent interview with Cigar Talk, TerenceCrawford discussed GervontaDavis when the topic came up about Tank only challenging himself to move up in weight classes if he can pick his opponents. The interviewer then referenced their social media conflict and asked whether it stemmed from both men being two competitive athletes at the top of the sport. Crawford replied that his response to Tank comes more from a personal dislike of the 30-year-old knockout artist who is often controversial. Nah, man, I just really don't like that dude. I just don't like him. I really don't like him. I don't like anything about him. I just feel like he's one of these little arrogant dudes who's using what he's got to shield him. He has a lot of security guards around him, and he knows he's in the limelight and stuff like that, but in certain situations, he wouldn't be acting like that. Bud went on to say that, while he doesn't like Davis, he can still acknowledge his talent. He's a good fighter. I respect him.
Fighting in the ring. If me and you was to fight outside...
Crawford's compliment about Davis's skills didn't seem to sweeten the deal for Tank, who responded to the interview in a now-deleted post. Damn the guy they had interviewed, that raccoon, and damn the... Raccoon? And be in New York City in 2 weeks. No security. How about that? Another talking point that is sure to put TerenceCrawford and GervontaDavis at odds is where Shakur Stevenson fits into the picture. The 27-year-old rising star returns this weekend at the last crescendo, where much of the talk has been about Stevenson potentially crossing paths with Tank in the near future. It's no surprise given their relationship, but Bud is backing Stevenson in this potential matchup, which...
Arrogant little dudes that's, using what he got to shield him. He got a lot of security guards.
He gave his prediction of how he sees the fight going during the same interview. We're going to take his personality and personal things out of it, but boxing-wise, he's definitely talented, and he's definitely got that it, and he's definitely respected in boxing, but Shakur is a different fighter. Shakur is different. People may call him boring. People may say he can't punch, but they said the same thing about Floyd because they are defensive fighters. Tank is not going to be able to hit Shakur like he hit everybody else, and he knows that. Interestingly, GervontaDavis, with his recent World Championship victory, has added his name to the mix, and things have only gotten more heated as GervontaDavis and Brian McIntyre, Crawford's trainer, have also called out GervontaDavis. As for Stevenson, he recently...
You know what's up? You know what I mean? He know what he up against when he fights Shakur or Keyshawn. You know what I mean? He want to fight these guys that everybody in the world know they ain't gonna give them no fight. They not mentally there, you know what I mean? They might have a little...
Stevenson will still feature in the huge pay-per-view event in Saudi Arabia on February 22nd. Instead of facing Schofield, Stevenson's World Boxing Council World Lightweight title will be challenged by Josh Padley. Padley is an English fighter with a 1-15 record, 3 of his last 4 wins coming by knockout. The British fighter was a huge underdog in his last outing but managed to defeat Mark Chamberlain via unanimous decision. This fight will be Padley's first world title opportunity, having made his professional debut in 2019. Padley passed a weight check on Wednesday morning, 4 days prior to his new title bout. Stevenson was asked about his thoughts on Schofield's withdrawal from the fight. "I think this kid was struggling to make the weight class," Stevenson said. "He probably had weight issues, and I think that was probably the issue. But instead of saying that, they come up with all types of crazy stuff." The World Boxing Council. World lightweight champion said that he was disappointed in the bout's cancellation.
Thinking that since the fight started, I didn't really think it was going to be a possibility that they was going to accept the fight. So then when they accept the fight, they surprised me there. But then when they didn't show up to the press conference, I kind of had
Truthfully, I wanted to give him the opportunity to make some big money, too. In the past, things got so intense between TerenceCrawford and GervontaDavis that Crawford discussed an improbable bout against Davis during a recent appearance on The Breakfast Club, a popular morning radio program on New York's Power 105.1 FM. Crawford had never been beaten, let alone stopped. However, this did not stop Tank from predicting that he would defeat the 3-weight world champion inside the distance if they ever fought.
I got a question for you, Tank. At 147, how does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look?
Damn.
147? 147.
At 147, I tapped that chin, and you know he's going to sleep. He got no chance, round 6. In an interview with Fight Hype, Bud laughed off the comments and explained that Davis was campaigning at lightweight for a reason. When you look at all the great fighters, they get called out by everybody from different weight classes, so it's nothing I'm surprised about. Everybody says what they're going to do, but Tank is in his weight class for a reason. I don't see him coming up to 147 to face me anytime soon. He's just talking, Crawford told co-hosts Charlemagne the God and DJ.
You know he's going to sleep.
I already know. I already know
he
he
ain't
is.
got no chance.
I already know he is.
He said no chance.
I got round 5.
You know, he has the confidence in himself that he believes he can do that because he's been knocking out all these fighters he's been in the ring with. So, no knock on Tank, but there are definitely levels, you know? And if he comes up to 147 thinking he's just going to knock Terence Crawford out, he's got another thing coming. Davis dropped Garcia twice, once in the 2nd round and again in the 7th round, to win their Showtime pay-per-view main event on April 22nd at T-Mobile Arena. Crawford, 35, has defeated each of his 8 welterweight opponents by knockout, or technical knockout since he relinquished his IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO 140 LB titles to fight in the 100...
GervontaDavis speaking about you. Is that ever a possible fight?
Yeah, if he want to...
He sent Spence to the canvas for the first time in Spence's 10-year pro career during the 2nd round, and caused 2 more knockdowns in the 7th round on his way to a 9th round technical knockout victory. Omaha's Crawford stands nearly 3 inches taller than Davis, who has knocked out 93% of his pro opponents. Crawford contended that he wouldn't receive credit for defeating Davis because their high-profile fight would require Davis to move up 2 weight classes. However, his purse would...
Like all the other fighters that moving up 2 weight classes, and, you know, daring to be great.
You would fight him.
Man.
Yeah, I'll stay at 147 for him because that's a big money fight, said Crawford, who is also a former World Boxing Organization lightweight champion. It's a big money fight, you know? Yeah, but then what's everybody going to say? They're going to say he was too small. Nobody's going to give me credit. They're going to say, oh man, you beat up a little guy who fights at 135. Yeah, you know, Tank's like 5'5", you know? He is a little guy. Yeah, he can punch, but in his weight class. I'm not saying that he can't punch in any weight class. Because he punches, we see that. But what type of recognition am I going to get for beating up on Tank? A lot of people don't know 135 and 147 is a big jump. That's almost a 20-pound, well, 12-pound.
He got to come to win 54.
He said I got a glass chin. So tell him come and touch it.
Wow. Gervonta said.
Surprisingly, Crawford is about to make the same jump he once trolled Gervonta about. Addressing his achievements and future endeavors on the Joe Rogan Experience, Crawford talked about potential bouts against Canelo Alvarez. "It's great. This is my era and I'm taking it. Ain't nobody gonna stop me," he said. "Now that I've switched gears, I know I want to fight Canelo. I've always said that's a big step. That's a big step. But for a person to go up 3 weight classes from 147 to 168 lbs and to win and become undisputed, what can they say?" The conversation continued. 3-time undisputed champion and the smaller fighter that went up 3 weight divisions to conquer one of the baddest men besides himself, that's been doing it for probably longer than me. It all began when the reigning Tank was seemingly upset he wasn't invited to the Ring Magazine Awards, where most of the top stars and legends in the sport convene to recognize the best in the business. In 2024, the event was held at the Old Royal Naval College in London, and the guest list read like a who's who of the sport: Alexander Usyk, Canelo Alvarez, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Lennox Lewis, and dozens of others. The Ring magazine, now owned by Alal Sheikh, posted this iconic image on their social media accounts. Davis took the same image from Matchroom Boxing's Instagram account and added a caption, profanely slamming Alal Sheikh and everyone in attendance. "Why didn't they invite everybody?" Davis asked in his post. "But they invited people they deal with. Out of here? Stop bum eating. Look at the little rat Eddie thinking he came up on something. Now tell them to all fight each other since they..."
That because he was already talking like he was back in Devin. Like, Devin's my guy. Like, all right, cool. Y'all want me to fight over there?
"They act like this guy is good for boxing when he isn't even skilled," Davis exclaimed. "If he's so great, why isn't he helping people from his own community? He knows nothing about boxing, yet this is who he." They're turning to nothing but bum eaters. Lastly, he criticized fighters who have gone to Saudi Arabia to chase massive paydays from Alal Sheikh's Riyadh season cards. LOL, they have to go there just to make money.
First.
Yeah.
Send me something first.
Right.
I don't got to fight. You know why fighters going over there? Because they can't sell here. I can sell here. So I ain't got to go over there.
They're going over there, getting their asses kicked, fighting in front of a total of 19 people. But because they're rich, it's considered cool, Davis said. Quite honestly, this approach doesn't reflect well on Davis. While I fully support his decision to stick to his principles and avoid fighting in Saudi Arabia, that's his prerogative. However, criticizing other fighters as they navigate business opportunities and network in the sport seems more like jealousy than genuine concern for boxing. TerenceCrawford had the perfect response to Davis. Shortly after, he tweeted, "I see. Somebody mad they weren't invited to the Ring Magazine Gala?" followed by a laughing emoji. Crawford went on to explain that he, too, had been left out in the past. But by then, his career was already progressing. Davis responded by quoting Crawford's post, saying, "And I still make more than you." He continued in another post, writing, "Y'all think he's chasing greatness? He's not. That's just what he has to do to make decent money. Expletive boys." Despite the feud between Tank Davis, Terence Crawford, and Turkey Alal Sheikh, Davis hasn't completely ruled out fighting in Saudi Arabia. However, he has made it clear that his conditions must be met first. Turkey Alal Sheikh has been investing heavily in boxing to make a significant impact, bringing high-profile fights to Saudi Arabia. His latest major signing for Riyadh season was Saul Canelo Alvarez. The Mexican champion has signed a contract for 4 fights, 3 in Riyadh and 1 in Las Vegas, which is expected to take place in September against Terence Crawford.
About the Turkey Alal Sheikh. So obviously
people got stupid money in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, for sure.
Hence why those boxers are lining themselves over there. You said that certain boxers was, dick eating for lining themselves.
The Arab sheikh has decided to invest heavily in boxing, treating it almost like a video game in career mode. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk earned the biggest paydays of their careers from their fights in Saudi Arabia. At first, Kvant was not tempted by the millions that Turki Alalshik could offer him, but it seems he is now reconsidering. In a chat with the Safe Place podcast, he explained his change of heart. That's why I said, oh yeah, I see.
Are you just not interested in fighting over there?
It's not that, but they came at me wrong the first time they ever came at me, which they said I will fight Devin. And then when he was saying, like, Devin was his guy. So I'm like, if that.
He also mentioned that they had already reached out to him, but he doesn't have much confidence in how they operate. They said I would fight Devin, and then they said Devin was their chosen one. So I thought, if Devin is their chosen one now, they have to pay me extra because I already know what I'm walking into. If I don't knock him out, they're going to give the fight to